Konnichiwa. Hoi. Hi. How's it going? Welcome to the Follow Your Happy podcast. My name is Beth. And this first episode was brought to you by NUVO, which is Indie's alternative news. If you are a company or a person that wants to sponsor an episode, please reach out to me. I'd love that. But yeah, so this first episode, me and Charlie Clark interviewed Michal Kepsky, who is the lead band member of the Bilinda Butchers, an American band that formed in 2008 and originally was based in San Francisco. They take their name from My Bloody Valentine guitarist and early inspiration, Bilinda Butcher. Their upcoming record, Night and Blur, is released on May 8th by Zoom Lens, and it has a completely new sound. It's self-described on their website as taking musical cues from the 90s infused with drum and bass and trip-hop, yet never entirely leaving the roots of dream pop. We welcome you to the wonderful world of the Bilinda Butchers. I'm starting this new podcast where I'm gonna talk about the importance of life and loving those around us, and no matter how different they may be, you know, it's hard. It's hard to expand what is normal to our own thoughts and opinions, but we are all people in the end, and if we don't join forces, then where is that going to lead us? Creative people have always been the driving force for the economy. They drive technology during times of war. I mean, why aren't we taking the time to listen? Hello, wake up! It's bigger than this moment right now, and bigger than you and me. When you put your heart on the line and drive past public opinion, people can make beautiful things. It goes back to what Louis Nazar said. He said, "He who works with his hands is a laborer. He who works with his hands and his head is a craftsman. He who works with his hands and his head and his heart is an artist." So I challenge you during this podcast to listen. Listen to the people who put their whole heart into what they create. If you do, you'll grow in ways you'll never foresee. Support the arts. Beautiful things will stem from it. I promise you. I hope you enjoy.
That I don't have to wear headphones. Do you hear like a what's it called? Feedback? So this is for NUVO.
Correct.
Right? I see the hat. Well, I mean, Beth, I've known Charlie for a really long time now, and we've like worked on a few different projects, a website mainly, and we've talked and stuff, but it seems like almost every single time we talk, you're working on like a different project.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I'm always working on something, man.
Yeah.
So many.
Exactly. Really honored to have an opportunity to do this.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah.
So what we did was we put like a whole little list of, I don't know, questions to ask you guys about like what was going to happen with this record and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Like maybe what you're expecting out of it, you know.
I'm more than happy to. I don't know if my answers are going to be that interesting, but I'm more than happy to try.
All right. Well, I was going to let Beth do the shooting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and thank you, Beth, for doing this and for your interest and for your kind words. I'm honored. It's really nice.
So what I've been doing with NUVO is I want to start a podcast where I'm interviewing artists, companies who are helping artists succeed in the world, because it's not easy for artists. It's expensive having the funding to be able to do all that stuff. Sure. I want to talk about two people in the beginning stages, and then also people who have been doing this for a long time, like you.
It's weird to say, but I have been doing this for like 10 years now, which is like really weird because it's weird to even think that I'm kind of like a veteran, but I guess it's true. I can't anymore. Yeah, well, I'm more than happy to help. It sounds really exciting.
Yeah. So I guess some of our questions are like, you started off in San Francisco, right? Mm-hmm. So do you what happened with the move? Like, how did you guys decide to move where you're living or like at now? And like, do you miss it?
San Francisco?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up in the Bay Area and lived in San Francisco for like 4 years, and I lived in Oakland, which I don't know if you've ever been in the Bay Area, but just across the water, for like 5 years. And during that time, I guess I was kind of part of the scene there. I don't, maybe not so much. I mean, sort of, but yeah, we're kind of Adam and I, my bandmate, we're kind of like recluses, and yeah, I mean, we played like one show when you were living there, I think, Charlie, or maybe two.
Oh no, you played a bunch, man. When
Did I?
first saw you guys, like I first saw you in the art show.
Yeah, I remember that. Like,
And then you
yeah,
guys played the rickshaw stop, and then the
Hemlock, yeah.
Hemlock. Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I guess we did. I don't remember all that time all that well. But anyway, yeah. So I like lived there for a super long time, and I don't know. I guess like any other kid, just really wanted to leave and get out. And I think with San Francisco's sort of cultural climate changing a lot with like tech and stuff like that, I don't have anything personally against it, but I eventually at some point I started to realize that like a lot of my friends had left, and it was kind of harder to meet new people that I sort of got along with and had a lot of like similar interests with. So a lot of my friends moved to New York, some of them moved to LA, and when sort of like deciding whether or not, well, my wife is from LA. Okay. And we were thinking about moving there because her family is there, but we were like, well, if we were ever going to move to New York, maybe now is like the time to try it. So yeah, I don't know. We went on tour, and we went to we did like a really big Asia tour. We were gone for like a month, and I had decided to move like literally, I think like 2 weeks before we left.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you remember that? Yeah, so
Yeah, I do remember that.
yeah, I like moved all my stuff to my friend's house, and then like literally the day after I like flew back, we like packed everything and then moved. So it was a really weird experience because we were like, yeah, I was gone. But I mean, like I said, I mean, I was really over it. I at that point I like hated San Francisco so much. I don't hate it now, but I just like didn't want to be there so badly that I was like, I didn't look back at all. I was just like ready to leave. So I moved to New York, and I have some friends here, and I have some musician friends here too, and it's been really, really nice. However, I do miss San Francisco a lot, and I have had an opportunity to go back, but it's changed a lot. I don't know if you have, Charlie, but
I haven't been back since 2015.
I think you'd be in shock to see what it's like, because I had been gone for I think maybe like 8 months, and I was like, whoa, it's just progressing so quickly because it's a super small city, so
yeah.
Things
it's like
happen really fast.
you bump into the same people in the bar every day, and it's like, oh, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think for me it was just kind of like time to leave and time to do something different. And the sad thing is that I think when I left, it was like kind of very real. Well, I made the realization that I was like, I'm never gonna live here again. I mean, unless like my income is crazy, which I don't foresee that it will be. But
were you the first to leave of everybody in the band?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you say again?
Were you the first person to leave your band of the Bilinda Butchers?
Yeah. So it's actually kind of a weird setup. I started the band with my friend Adam when we met in middle school, and we were like 16 or something, and then through the years, like other people sort of came in and out, and Adam still lives in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
cool.
My friend Lukas, who I met in college, who is our bass player and like kind of produces everything, he lives in Seattle. And then we had a drummer who Charlie met.
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan, who is from the Bay Area, but he left. And then we brought on this guy named Brock Lowry, and he was the drummer for a band called Craft Spells.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I met him when we were on tour with them, and became like really, really close friends. And Craft Spells sort of like slowed down a little bit, and we were looking for a drummer. And when we went on tour, we asked him, it worked out really nicely, and we all got along. So we asked him to join. So he's in Seattle too. The two of the guys are in Adam's in San Francisco, and then I'm in New York. But it's kind of weird because even when we were close, like when I was in San Francisco, I was kind of doing everything sort of on my own anyway. So like we've never really been like we don't practice. We never had a practice space. We never really like got together. We would practice like a week before we had a tour. We've been like incredibly blessed and like lucky and privileged to be sort of at this level where we never really have to like play shows really often. Like we put out music, did like pay enough that we got offers to like, on tour and do sort of long. So because of that, when something came up, like going to Asia, or we did the tour of North America with Crash Bells, we just like got everybody together really quickly for 1 week, 8 hours, like just all day sitting there and practicing, and then we would just go, which is not ideal, but that's just kind of how we did.
You obviously have like a huge Asian, like you've big presence in Asian countries. And like we've watched a couple of your interviews where you said that you like used to play video games when you were a kid and watch a lot of documentaries, and you have a lot of influences and stuff like, well, like in your music, you even sample what is it? Wong Don't Wai.
Yeah,
soundtrack and stuff. Like how does that, like, where did that stem from? Like where was your I don't know, beginning inspiration for that?
Sure. I mean, it's really embarrassing to talk about. I think especially now that I'm like much older, because kids. I think kids are kind of I don't know, just kind of dumb, and I feel so embarrassed for like the interviews that I did when I was younger, because I just like I look back and I'm like, oh my god, why did I say stuff like that?
They were great interviews though. That's like they're personable, or I don't know.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But I mean, when I was a kid, I think like many kids growing up in the United States, like I was really into like anime and would watch Cartoon Network and would play video games, and I don't know, I think for a lot of kids it's an escape in some way, and my life has continually just nonstop revolved around Japan specifically, and not that I want to run away from it, but even if I really wanted to, it just doesn't, because my day job revolves around Japan, and my wife is Japanese, and I don't know, it's a big part of my life now. And when I was younger, it started like that: movies, music. Adam and I were really into Japanese music when we were younger, just kind of like surfing the internet and like finding stuff and making friends in Japan, which is kind of how Charlie and I know each other a little bit. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of always been there. I worked for a Japanese toy store in the Bay Area, and it's always been present. I wish I had like a really good answer. It's just kind of been part of my life and never really left. And I mean, I'm really grateful, and I've been studying Japanese for a long time, so I've been able to kind of like learn more about the culture and have been there several times. In terms of like just Asia in general and like our fan base there, it was really like weird, and most of our fan base is in mainland China. Yeah. And it was really weird. Like, actually, we were sort of considering kind of slowing down or maybe even quitting the band, because we were kind of getting older, and we were sort of drifting apart a little bit. Adam was doing his thing, the other guys were in Seattle, and so on and so forth. And we got an email out of nowhere from a booking agent in mainland China, and she was like, hey, do you want to come here? Like, we'll pay for everything, and you can go to mainland China for a month. And we were like, spam, like, this is there's no way that this is real. And then like over the course of like 2 or 3 months, we did like a bunch of fact checking and talked to a bunch of people, and it turned out to be like real. And we were like, okay, so we got prepared and we went, and we like had really, I don't know, not low expectations, but we had no idea what to think, because we just don't really know anything about mainland China. And we went, and the shows were just like crazy. I mean, it was like, sold out and like really, really big. And we were like, what is going on here? Like, how do people even know about us? And I mean, I think it's like the internet. I think, the youth in China, they're as hungry for culture and music and, as any other place in the world. And I think they just have a very different setup in terms of how they consume it. They have their own social media sites. They have their own like streaming platforms and stuff like that are not really parallel to what we have in the States or in other countries. So they're as big, but sort of live independently from one another. So you don't really there's no cross contamination in terms of like streams. I think it's a lot less so that way now, because I think more like there's just more stuff going on. The Chinese artists are getting really, really big, like 88 Rising and stuff, and I think it's becoming a lot more I don't know, there's more overlap. But anyway, after going to Asia and after that tour, it was like, I don't know, super eye-opening. And I've been a huge fan of Wong Kar-wai for a really long time. Like, I love his movies, and big influence for music for me. Sorry, I know this is a super long-winded answer, but yeah, it's always been there, and it's through my being blessed and having all these great opportunities. It's just been able to grow. My appreciation for all that stuff. Yeah.
Let me backtrack into this. So with the upcoming record, and, the whole changes of the style of music that you're going to, I was reading from your website alone. It says 90s house, drum and bass to trip hop, but still kind of keeping that dream pop origins in there. What made you really move into this new direction of the dance and the trip hop beats and stuff?
Sure. Well, the record sort of focuses, I guess, narratively, on the first time we went to Asia, because it was just, like I said, it was such a weird experience for us to kind of feel relatively just completely unknown in the States, and then go there and have a really, nice and welcoming response. So that tour was I don't know, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of new experiences, and it was really crazy. And that was 4 years ago. Which, we don't have a really great track record in terms of releasing stuff consistently. We our last record came out in 2014, and before that, I don't even know how long.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Heaven came out in 2014, and it's just been staggered like that. I guess I don't know. I'm pretty slow at doing stuff, and I think maybe it has a lot to do with the fact that I try to. I like the idea of a concept album, and I like thinking about things I write songs that I feel are kind of connected. So anyway, it takes me a long time, but from that experience, my music, everybody's music taste kind of changes, and over that period of 4 or 5 years, my bandmate Lukas, I met him in college, and he's a happy hardcore producer and DJ, and he's really into rave music and techno and drum and bass and stuff like that. So, and our former drummer Ryan was really into electronic music too. Yeah. And I think it was just kind of everybody talking about music all the time and sort of showing each other new stuff. And then when we came back, I got really into house, and there was this movement of lo-fi house in the States that was happening. I got really into, because it was a lot of just lo-fi in general, but using sort of house themes, and I was like, oh, this is really cool, and drum, bass, and techno and all that stuff. So I started getting really into it, and I got super into the last two records of Everything But the Girl, Temperamental, and I can't remember the other one. I feel ashamed for not knowing, but anyway, this indie band from the UK.
What's the name of them again?
Everything But the Girl.
Everything But the Girl?
They did a really famous song called Missing, which I'm sure if you heard it, you would know it in a second. It was all over the radio. But anyway, they were kind of like a twee band, just guitar, indie stuff. And then the last two records that they did were just completely electronic, which was a total shift. And it was cool because for me, as sort of a novice with electronic music, it was the first time I'd heard a band that was sort of doing kind of singer-songwriter music, but with super electronic instrumentation. And I was like, oh, this is really cool, because I I've always kind of liked this music, aside from the radio department. The radio department kind of does that too, but maybe a little less so than those two records. But yeah, it was the first time that I was like, whoa, you can do that, and it like works, and it sounds really cool. Like, it's not just electronic music. It's like, these are great songs.
Yeah.
And after that, I was just like I was totally inspired to do something really similar. So I think those two records were kind of the main influence, and the trip to Asia. So yeah, I wanted to try to bring, because Adam and I, we grew up playing guitar and just like writing songs together on guitar, and I wanted to see what it would be like to basically start writing songs on guitar, go to the computer, and do it electronic and see what it would sound like. I don't know if we did a good job, but we did.
How did this happen? How did you guys get mixed up with the Zoom lens? I forgot, because I saw that, was Lover Suicide produced or released?
We put it out on Zoom Lens. Yeah. So the guy who founded Zoom Lens, I've known him like since we were kids, and he's out of LA. Yeah. So, and actually there was a relatively short period of time that I like co-ran the label with him, because he does it by himself, and at the time I really liked it. I thought the project was really cool, and I thought the artists that he wanted to sign were really cool, and so yeah, for about a year or two I was like helping out with like, I don't know, just various logistical stuff and design and stuff like that. But anyway, we've remained friends, ever since then. And when we were doing this record, actually, so the guy who runs it, he goes under the name of May She Smile. That's his like artist moniker, yeah. And it was really funny, because similarly, like when we were touring in Asia, he was living in Japan for like 6 months, and when we sort of came back and we were reflecting on it, we were talking about it and reflecting on our experiences, he was like, yeah, like I felt the same way. Like we kind of had this like kindred experience without, like being close to each other or seeing each other. And we like were, thinking about what we wanted to do with the record. I like just wanted to put it out, or some people wanted to shop it around and stuff. And May She Smile and I, we were talking, and he was just like, yeah, like, if you want to do it, like we should just do it together. And I was like, yeah, like I would really, really like that. So it was kind of, I don't know, it just sort of happened naturally. And yeah, I feel blessed to have him like on the team and doing it, because he brings a perspective to doing all of this that I don't think any of us have. So yeah, very thankful.
I think the weird part for me,
we've been friends with him for so long, and I don't think that he has like a specific guideline as to who he works with. I think he just feels really passionate about certain artists. But I think that's like, I don't want to speak for him, obviously, but I know that that's really important for him. And I think that a lot of people associate the label with that kind of like, narrative and, creed, I guess.
Right. Or like just bringing in the Asian influence into the like whatever coast you live on, basically. Because, there's a lot of Asian population out there too. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Half Asian, so I know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And he's put out artists from Japan, China, the Philippines, and artists of Asian descent in the States as well. So yeah, it's really important, I think.
That's cool, man. I'm really excited to see, because you gave me the sample of what Night and Blur. Like 6 months ago.
Months ago, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, like the unmastered version of it.
Yeah.
So now, like seeing that when you guys are doing those little interviews, you and Adam, when you're like interviewing each other on Smash Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So cute.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, it's really fun. I don't know if you guys are really asking about that, but I will just say, like, I think for me at this point in my life, and as I guess I would call myself an artist or a musician, because I've been doing it for so long, my expectations for like, I don't know, I don't really expect people to like listen to my music, and if they do and they like it, I feel so grateful, because it's just really nice, and I don't expect anything from it. And I think similarly, like in the past when I was younger, it's kind of like, all right, well, we have stuff, we got to put it out, we got to like try to get interviews, we got to try to get reviews, we got to try to do this and that. And I think for me, it's very difficult for me to put myself into that mindset of like sort of changing, just kind of going into like business mode a little bit. Like we have to, we got to promote now, and it's
like constantly push stuff to like social media and all that stuff.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that too.
Oh, you cut off.
You're cutting off.
Sorry?
Oh, you cut off for a second.
Yeah, I think it's kind of counterintuitive, because it's like, you get in this like very artistic mindset, and then all of a sudden it's like just the complete opposite. And I struggle. Like it's really, really difficult for me. So because of that, I was like, well, maybe there are like 5 people out there that like really care about the backstory to like these songs, and because, Adam is in San Francisco and I'm in New York, we don't really get many opportunities to like catch up and talk anymore, just over the phone. So I was like, yeah, like, and when we do, we usually play Smash, because that's Super Smash Brothers, because that's like what we did when we were kids. Mm-hmm. We'd like get together and just play and like catch up and like, vent or, whatever it is. And, so I was like, we're going to do this anyway. Why don't we just like record it and talk about the record? Because that's like what's going on. And, maybe some people will like it and it'll be fun. And the cool thing, it's been really fun for us. Because it's, you don't feel like you have to like talk about anything specifically, or like, I love the opportunity to do interviews. Like I'm so grateful to do something like this, but sometimes it's kind of like, I don't know, it feels like I have a hard time talking about myself, I guess. Like I'm like, who cares? Like what I have to think. Like I don't know if anybody really gives a shit. Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss, but yeah. So anyway, doing those like little episodes has been fun, and I mean, they're there. Like nobody has to watch them, but if somebody wants to, and cares about like learning more, that.
Well, you pretty much talked me into getting a hanky.
Yeah, that's right. It's on the wall.
My question to you about these hankies: how many hankies do you carry around, and how often do you wash them? Because if I'm going to get one, I need to know the logistics of it.
Well, I think it's like any other sort of piece of clothing. I mean, but yeah. So anyway, doing those like little episodes has been fun, and I mean, they're there. Like nobody has to watch them, but if somebody wants to, and cares about like learning more, that. Well,
you pretty much talked me into getting a hanky.
Yeah, that's right. It's on the wall.
My question to you about these hankies: how many hankies do you carry around, and how often do you wash them? Because if I'm going to get one, I need to know the logistics of it.
Well, I think it's like any other sort of piece of clothing. I mean, yeah, I have a lot. And I'm very proud to say that. I'm not embarrassed at all. It's sort of become like almost like a collection thing. And I know I don't know how long it's been, Charlie, since you've been to Japan, but I think, as you know, like people use like handkerchiefs there. It's a huge thing, and it's really nice too, because they're great like souvenirs. They're super portable. Like you can fold it, and like they look beautiful. They're like super nice, and it's so utilitarian and artistic. Like I really wish it would just like sweep over America, and like it would be a really big thing here, because I was contacted by a animator who works for like a bigger studio in Indonesia. Okay. And yeah, about maybe, I don't know, maybe even like a year ago, and at the time I was working with another artist to do the cover art for the record, and I had sort of begun thinking about the concept of this album and how I really wanted it to be like sort of like the Gorillaz kind of like these avatars, and kind of create this world of these characters like doing different things and living out the story. And this animator contacted me, and it kind of just didn't really go anywhere. And then all of a sudden he was like, hey, I want to do something for you. Like, let's just do this. Let's just make it happen. And I was like, all right, cool. So we started working with him, doing like just small things like, one of my ideas was doing a lyric video for every single song on the record. So doing like shooting. So there's one video out right now for the song called Sia, which is like a time lapse of my friend and I driving around in New York with this character.
Yeah. The background like moving constantly.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I had this idea and I was like, hey, like, what do you think about doing this? And he was like, yeah, that sounds cool. And then just through that, I mean, it just completely, I mean, to be completely honest, he's almost like another member of this whole project, because his sort of, you know, his ideas and all the creativity he put into it really just pushed it to a completely another level. So we have a video for every single song on the record that is like similar to that, and then he's actually doing some other stuff, and then he did the cover art for us also. In lieu of that, we're planning a US tour right now.
So Indy?
Sorry?
So you're coming to Indy?
I hope so. Yeah, I don't know why. I'll mention it though, for sure.
Yeah, because I was on your website and it says like on your little box for upcoming tour dates, it has the Ask to Play in Your City.
Really?
Little button. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a button Ask to Play in Your City.
Oh, Ask to Play Your City. Yeah. Right.
And then I was like, I kept hitting the button trying to think like I was just gonna like bombard you with like. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that, and then I'll send it to the agent and make sure that we come by. I mean, I would love to, and I mean, Charlie knows. Like, I've, you know, he's been asking like when we're going to tour again for years now, and I'm like, well, you know, as soon as we do it, like, we'll make sure to stop by and go to Indiana. So kind. Thank you so much. Your enthusiasm is so much appreciated.
Well, the first album that I fell in love with was your first one, the Regret Love
Guilt Dreams.
Yeah. Just
Thank
like
you.
Beautiful. And then I started going into Goodbyes, and I was just like, oh my gosh, they're so good.
Oh, yeah, thank you. It's I feel embarrassed because the music is like so old, but yeah, thank you.
Good. And then even Heaven, like, so just all of it's beautiful. So, and it also, you know how Spotify kind of like ventures you into other artists when you start listening to one artist. And so then I've now started, like, I don't know.
Cool.
A lot more good music just because of you. You know what I mean? Like, well, that's Spotify, of course.
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you.
It's really
Thank
cool.
you so much.
Well, I think too, when you were talking about the radio department, for instance, you guys opened for them once at I forgot the venue now.
Oh, at the Independent.
Yeah, at the Independent. And I was like shocked. I was like, dude, these guys are in love with the radio department. And they're fucking great, you know? This is an awesome chance for them.
That was check off the list for sure. like a life. Yeah, because it's funny, like Adam and I, we've talked about it a lot, and we still talk about it because when we started the band, obviously, you know, we named our band after My Bloody Valentine, Bilinda Butcher from My Bloody Valentine. We love that band and that kind of music. But I think the radio department, which we discovered sort of at the same time, it was funny, like when I first heard them, I was like, I got really upset because I was like, damn it, they already did what I want to do. Like I had that in my mind. I was like, this is the kind of music I want to make. And then I heard them and I was like, shit, they already did it. So in any case, I mean, we love that band. Like that's like, you know, childhood. Like, yeah, we love that band. So the first time we went to Asia, they happened to be doing the same tour that we were doing, but just in opposite directions.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Well, it ended up being cool because we overlapped in Taiwan.
Yeah.
They played in Taiwan, in Taipei, the night before we played. So we went to their show.
Oh, that's
and this is really kind of a funny story, but when they, obviously, like I said before, kids are so dumb, and like they released a record called Clinging to a Scheme. Before they did that, they released a single called David, and it was very different in style from kind of what they did before. And when I heard it, I was like, I don't know, I was a really passionate kid, so I was like, this sucks, like, what are they doing? I hate this. And I emailed them and I was like, hey guys, like what's going on? Like what's the deal with this? And one of the members of the band responded, and they gave like a very level-headed, logical, like they really, people's tastes change. We wanted to do something different. We've been doing the same kind of music for a long time, and I was kind of like, this is bullshit. Like, I just want to hear the same stuff that I've been hearing for a long time.
Every time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously this is, this happens with like almost every band. So anyway, we saw them in Taipei, and I was like, hey, I'm really sorry about this, but like, do you remember this email? And they were like, yeah, actually we do remember that. And
wow.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't even believe that I'm standing in front of you, and I'm such an honor to even shake your hand and say hello. And they were super nice. I mean, they're Swedish, so they're like super, super kind. And they were really like encouraging and really, really nice. And we sort of kept in touch after that, because I think, it was kind of hard to avoid, because every venue we played at, their poster would be up, and our poster, they were just literally side by side, which is like, a huge honor for us. So I think, they went to the venues and sort of saw the same thing. And we, sort of kept in touch via email. And then they did a U.S. tour. And at that time, they were like, hey, you guys are in San Francisco. If you want to open for us, like, it would be really cool. So, we jumped on it and did it. And then ever since then, we've sort of, become friends, which is like a trip.
Now, with the email that you sent, did you sign it, the Bilinda Butchers, at the end? Or just put your name?
That's how they know. Yeah, because I wish I could dig up that email. I wonder where it is. But I mean, it was just such a stupid, like, I was such a rude, condescending person when I was younger. I feel so terrible. But I was just like, what is going on? Like, and then I was like, this is the Bilinda Butcher. Like,
that's cool. I mean, that happens to everybody, and that's a really good segue into what your record, saying the same things that are happening to you now as a musician, and just growing up and being like, hey, this might be different than what you're used to, but
100%. Like I mean, that exchange, for better or worse, has stuck with me throughout my entire quote unquote career. And it's funny now, because that song that I was complaining about and that record is now my favorite of theirs. And it's like, it's almost become richer because of that experience. But I have so much more appreciation for people that go outside the box and try to do something different. Not to say that we're doing that, but I think there's a natural desire to, want to expand and do something different. But it's something that we talk about a lot, and I'm not nervous so much, but I have a expectation that people will kind of be like, this sucks, and I don't want to, this band sucks, and I don't want to hear this music anymore because it's not the same like what I remember. But I don't know. I think that's sort of just a casualty of doing this kind of stuff. Like, if you want to grow personally, it's important to grow. I don't really know, like, I don't want to talk about myself in a way that I feel like, that I'm influential or anything like that, but I don't know. I mean, it would be a really nice feeling to know that somebody heard something like that and felt that, they're doing something cool or they dislike it. I mean, any sort of reaction is really nice.
Yeah. Well, and there's learning curves to anything. I think that's what I'm really figuring out early on in what I'm doing, because I'm an artist and I'm trying to do this podcast thing, but I don't really know how to do it. And things like you mess up. I mean, and it's like being okay with that and continuing to push forward and not letting it trip you up. And then, like, even though you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that, or I can't believe I did that, or, it's just like, it's just part of life, and move forward and embrace it.
Totally. Yeah. It's weird to think that the sort of the climate has changed a little bit just because everything's on the internet now. So like, I mean, even when I was starting, things were still a little bit less, I think, aggressive with like transparency and how like everything is just there all the time. But I mean, obviously, it was there. But now it's like, I think about what sort of like younger people than me face in terms of like what they put on the internet. And I would be like, I don't know. I guess it's kind of, it's worrisome. But sort of to what you were saying in terms of like being an artist and just trying it out, a similar sort of story to the radio department thing that I've remembered the whole, my entire quote unquote career is the first time we met this band called The Pains of Being Pure at Heart. They're a New York band. Yeah, I know you know Charlie. They're fantastic. They're an amazing band, and they toured and went to San Francisco, and we met them, and it was a really brief conversation, but I don't even remember what the question was. But Kip, the main guy from the band, he was like, well, whatever you do, just like just don't give up, which is obviously very simple advice, and I think you can get that pretty much from everywhere. But it was really nice hearing it from him, from somebody who I really admired, because he was like, you're gonna have these periods of time where you don't really know what you're doing, or you feel like you're lost, or you feel like you don't want to do it anymore, but like just keep doing it, because something whether you like it or not will happen, and it's kind of more important to do it than to not do it. And I mean, like I said, it's very simple advice, and I don't know if it's very specific, but it's stayed with me the whole time. I remember that.
You know, people you look up to in a way, and you hear that coming from them too, and you're like, it's more of a draw for yourself to do more and kind of push harder, maybe.
Totally. I think there was a sense of like, well, yeah, it's really nice that he took the time to even say that to me, and I know he wouldn't care if I failed, but I felt like I didn't want to let him down in a way,
right,
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very motivating for sure.
That's cool. And with this new record, you know, the Night and Blur coming out, is it May 8th? No?
May 8th, yeah. I appreciate that. Like I think to that effect, like I realized that at a certain point that I've been doing this for about like 10 years now, and I realized maybe about halfway that I don't really think that I can do anything else, or maybe not so much that I can't do anything else, but like I kind of have to. This has to be a part of my life,
right? Yeah.
Because if I walk away from it, which I've tried to do several times, it has never ended well. So I've always had to do something like music or just sort of something creative to just keep going. And I think that's one thing that's kind of given me a little bit of peace and sort of stability, because it's made me feel, you know, for better or for worse, like this is something that's really important to me,
right.
And something that I feel like, I don't know, spiritually that I have to do, and it's given me some relief. And I think for other artists out there, if they can reach a point where they're like, well, I know this has to be a part of my life, whether I'm going to make money or whether it's going to be successful or not, you can kind of relieve a little bit of the tension of, you know, it's like you have a day job or whatever it might be, but as long as you're like, this is important to me and I have to do this, and you set aside at least some time to do it, it's been very helpful for me.
We don't know what I did to make you hate me, but as long as I live, I'll wait for the day when you'll forgive me for being